Good afternoon. The September 20th, 2022 board work session is now in order. Mr. Gibbs, roll call, please.
Ms. Belford?
Present.
Ms. McDougall?
Present.
Ms. Jenkins?
Present.
Ms. Campbell?
Present.
Mr. Susan?
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, during today's work session, we'll be receiving a strategic plan review and update. Mr. Rashad Wilson, Chief Operating Officer, will be presenting. Mr. Wilson.
Really?
Good afternoon,
Interesting. That is
Good afternoon.
Board Chair Belford, the board, and our courageous superintendent, Dr. Mullins. I stand before you today to provide an update on our organization's strategic plan. I have with me is Ms. Cynthia Rayan, who has been a cornerstone in this process since 2016, to assist me with any questions that may come about once the presentation is complete. Shall we begin? The strategic plan annual schedule was developed to provide the general components of a continuous improvement process. Assess, analyze, adjust, and repeat. Progress report outcomes along with other scheduled components such as year-end assessments, community, principal, and staff input are incorporated at the biannual strategic plan align and optimize and review and revision retreats. Using this process, the leadership team provides the leadership team a productive rhythm for continuous improvement, keeping them constantly aware of the strategic process and where they are in executing the tactical plan. The annual schedule centers around regular progress reports, a method to explain to the superintendent the progress made towards the completion of objectives and strategies by each goal. It is a two-part process, an online procedure and a cabinet presentation performed twice a year by each goal. The online procedure for each goal is to update the appropriate strategic plan working documents, as well as to identify one of three general standings for each strategy. And they are: strategy is on target, moving in the right direction. Strategy has not started or is delayed, but will start in the future. Strategy has a roadblock that they want to brainstorm with cabinet. The cabinet presentation occurs during a regular cabinet meeting to report progress to the superintendent, remove barriers to cross-departmental work, and problem solve as a team. You may ask, why is progress monitoring important? It gets everyone on the same page. It facilitates collaboration. It improves transparency and accountability. It improves objective and strategy evaluation, review, and future planning. Next, we have year-end assessments. Year-end assessments are detailed status snapshots for each objective, providing specific performance indicator, strategy, and metric progress as we close each year of the strategic plan. These assessments are used to update the strategic plan objectives for the coming year, as well as to provide the board with an end-of-the-year strategic plan annual executive summary, which is included in Dr. Mullins' self-evaluation, which happens, I think, in June. Next, we have our community, principal, and staff input. We recognize the importance of seeking input from people who matter most, our community, principals, and staff. and continuously look for opportunities. Building on the community conversations with families and community members that was developed this past April by the Alliance for Public Schools, we crosswalked our strategic plan objectives and strategies with the report to determine our strategic alignment to what was heard in person and submitted online. We found that our strategic plan is addressing many findings as reported. For example, educators are leaving the profession and Brevard Public Schools salaries are not competitive with surrounding districts. Attracting and retaining high-quality staff in adequate numbers should be a school board and community priority. Already aligned in our strategic plan are 3 objectives that are addressing this finding. Objective 1E1, recruit a diverse pool of candidates for all classifications of positions within Brevard Public Schools. Objective E3, retain a diverse pool of candidates for all classifications of positions within Brevard Public Schools. And objective 4, E4, develop and provide long-term compensation package and benefits for all employees. Another finding, families feel that students should be able to easily access the supports they need when a parent or caregiver has a concern. They should be listened to and directed to resources to help them navigate the system, to find help for their child. Already in the strategic plan, A1S3, implement professional development for administrators, teachers, and support staff in identifying and supporting the instructional needs of diverse students, to include students with disabilities, English language learners, economically disadvantaged students, and students of all racial and ethnic backgrounds. Ensuring access to on-grade level instruction, curriculum resources, and appropriate accommodations in the least restrictive environment. Another finding, publicize the status of projects from the sales surtax referendum to update parents on projects that were planned during the public campaign for support. Already in the strategic plan, O1S1, refresh assessments to capture ongoing renewal projects and broaden assessment framework to capture outstanding equity issues. Next, we have C1S1. Execute a proactive research and data-driven outreach campaign to address perception and foster greater understanding, transparency, and trust between the district and the community on key issues such as student achievement, the budget, and other important district-led issues and initiatives. During the April LTM, we held a principal gallery walk, which I had the opportunity to participate in as a principal at the time. This consisted of large posters of objectives, including performance indicators, objectives, strategies, and metrics. The principals were grouped by feeder chain and asked to walk the gallery, discussing questions such as, does the objective serve to help reach the goal? Does the performance indicator measure the objective in a smart way? Are the strategies good ways to achieve the objective? Are the metrics measuring the strategies in a smart way? What specific praise might you give? What modifications would you suggest? We asked the principals to use green Post-it notes to share specific praise for an objective, performance indicator, strategy, or metric, and the yellow Post-it note to share specific changes they would recommend. This session offered all principals the opportunity to support the work of refining, monitoring, and evaluating our strategic plan. Additionally, last spring, Dr. Mullins created a team to review our organizational surveys to capture insights and connections to the strategic plan. There were 17 plus surveys. I'm just going to name a few. The Insight survey was one of them. The Employees Exit survey, the Minority survey, Support survey, Support Staff survey, Calendar survey, Parent survey, and Youth Truth survey, just to name a few. During April and May, the team located survey questions and data points that align with strategic plan goals, objectives, and strategies. All the identified items were transferred to stickers for potential use by the district goal team. Next, we have our retreats. We hold 2 retreats during the year for district level staff to assemble to evaluate our plan and ensure that it remains a living document which is flexible and responsive to the evolving needs of our stakeholders over time. The mid-year Align and Optimize retreat, which is held in December, focuses on a tactical level reviewing strategies and metrics for possible fine-tuning. The year-end review and revision retreat, which happens in June, centers more on the strategic level, focusing on objectives and performance indicators, as well as strategies and metrics. The goal teams review all input gathered throughout the year and use, if reasonable and applicable, in updating the plan for the coming year. Last June, the goal teams considered by objective all Post-it note input from the April LTM Principal Gallery Walk, which again, I participated, and moved each note to the corresponding parking lot to either keep it, use it, ponder it, or table it for this year's update. LTM input examples. Leverage existing, the objective was leverage existing and new communication platforms to raise the visibility to promote the good work of the district, our people, programs, and process. The input based on that gallery walk was, this will include a professional development session on social media for schools and ESF division. Another example, the objective was revise, deploy, and analyze, say, an exit survey data quarterly. The feedback given on the sticky note mentioned, do schools get survey feedback? Can exit interview data be shared with principals? Now, I would assume once we get to this part, this upcoming year, this input will be vital as we move forward within our strategic plan. In addition to the stickers, inventory from organizational surveys were also considered by the district goal team for alignment and use with objectives and strategies. Another example would be revised budgets to provide funding for specific certification such as SHRM, and that stands for Society for Human Resources Management, secretarial accounting, and rethink tuition reimbursement, not only to allow for coursework, but also for certification. The feedback we received from the sticky note was 100% of support employees will respond, agree, or strongly agree to survey questions regarding knowledge of, understanding of, and utilization of tuition certification reimbursement by 2025. Another example would be establish baseline key performance indicators for facility maintenance, monitor progress, and establish targets for improvement. And that is 01S3. Then we have 01S3.2, establish key performance indicators, for classroom condition and campus aesthetics, monitor progress, and establish targets for improvement. That feedback was monitor for increased progress percentage on TNTP Insight Leader Survey 2022 question, where 53% of the leaders agreed that service provided by the facilities and maintenance departments are well managed by school year 2024. As you can see, the year-long work of progress reports, year-end assessment, community principal and staff input, and retreats culminate into the draft version of the BPS Strategic Plan for the following year. You have been provided with copies of the draft strategic plan for school year 2022-23, year 4 of our 5-year plan. Our BPS vision, mission, and values and beliefs have remained constant from year 1. Our 4 goals: academic excellence, exceptional workforce, community connection, and operational sustainability, remain the same and continue to be measured by the benchmark: kindergarten readiness, Algebra 1 success, 3rd grade literacy, grad rate, and college and career acceleration. The Year 4 revision includes 17 objectives measured by performance indicators and 67 strategies measured by metric. Next steps. We are ready to post and communicate the BPS Strategic Plan for school year 2022-23, year 4 on the BPS homepage at your approval. We will continue to infuse community, principal, and staff input as it is gathered. We will begin planning to do the big picture review next year to have the strategic plan school year 2025 to 2030 ready to go on July 2025. Any questions?
Board members have questions for Mr. Wilson?
A lot of work. Right. I know. I just want to say thank you. It's a lot of work that all the teams and all the departments do and stretch for, and I appreciate it. I think our goals are really focused on where we need to be at this point. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just say, good job on your first workshop. We were nice. Well, we're not done yet, but I'm assuming, Mr. Susan, that we're going to be nice to you, Mr. Wilson, in your first workshop presentation.
I appreciate it.
I was actually thinking you talked about, the next one, because blows my mind that I'm like, oh my gosh, we're almost to the end of the one, and I was here when it started. So that's pretty amazing, and we've said this before in an update on the strategic plan, or maybe we said it when we did the Dr. Mullins evaluation, that in the middle of this 5-year strategic plan, we had a global pandemic, and yet you guys have continued to work through and continue. We didn't set any of these objectives aside and say, you know what, we're dealing with a global pandemic, so everybody will understand that we're going to just pull back a little bit on the efforts of this objective or that objective. I know some of the objectives, you talked about roadblocks, there were big roadblocks in the way, and we may not have been able to, but nobody took their foot off the accelerator, so I appreciate that. I was actually just peeking at some of the benchmark data, and clearly the pandemic took its toll, but I was looking back at I think it's the Algebra 1 data, is like a huge smiley face. Yeah, Dr. Sullivan's doing a happy dance back there. A huge smiley face, and that was something, that is an equity issue. That is, just math taking the hits through all the years. That is something to rejoice. And we took a little bit of a risk to say, you know what, we're going to push more students into taking Algebra 1 in middle school, but it's clearly paid off. So I just, I got to highlight where we have smiley faces in there. So good work, team, and good work. Thank you.
Thank
you. And thank
Absolutely.
you. The woman who keeps it all in order.
Cornerstone, as I indicated earlier. Absolutely.
Anybody else?
So thank you so much. This is what we had put together, and you know what I mean? Thank you, Dr. Mullins, and everybody for executing it and everything else, and, you know, some good information in there. One of the things I was going to mention is that you had said it right there, that there was a global pandemic in the middle of this, and also we've, you know, constantly adjusted and done different things. We have possibly, or we will have 2 more board members that come on here in November. I didn't know if there's an opportunity for us to have discussion wrapped around this with them, to bring them not only up to speed, to see if they want to input anything into it in November. Does that make sense to you? I know this is a 4-year plan. I know there needs to be continuity, but sometimes there's an opportunity for them to have a voice too. And one of the things that I know when I got elected, one of the things that was so difficult was hearing, well, it's already in the plan, so next year you'll be able to come up and we'll be able to give it to you. So I would say I don't know if we can put together a strategic plan and maybe a budget workshop with them as a group so that we could go over this stuff and talk about it. Because sometimes meeting with staff is great, but if I'm a new board member and I come in and I speak directly to you, you don't know sometimes, like when we're there to tell them, here's why this is the way it is and what we had and the parents that we talked to and the town halls that we went through and all of that stuff. So I don't know, Ms. Belford, if there's a way to agenda a couple of meetings up in November or December, who I would need to talk to about that, but I was thinking that that would be appropriate for some of the people coming in, that's all.
Or
December.
include a segment of it in our retreat that we usually have with staff, with cabinet in December.
Either way, and maybe that's part of the conversation in December is when they come on, you know, go over these things that are top level, because it takes a while. It's like drinking through a garden hose for the first 6 months, right? But if there are some things that they wanted to add or do or change, then have that discussion then, rather than in March and have to wait till the next year. So if we do get together in December, maybe that's the appropriate time. And I didn't know if there's an opportunity. Who do we talk to? Does that need board direction? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just would rather, because I know it has to get noticed. I know that it has to be there. So if we can just make a general notice and everything's open, and the 3 board members that are here would say, you know what I mean? Maybe that's the angle. I don't know. I'm just trying to throw it out there.
Just one, Ms. Madam Chair, if I could. The only thing I would say is that this document really, while we certainly had the opportunity to have input, because Dr. Mullins has included us so many times in our one-on-ones, saying, here's this, and as well as presenting it to us all together, this document is really owned by in my mind, by the superintendent. And this is the way that he implements and gets accomplished the job that we have tasked him with. And so this is his strategic plan with his, you know, the objectives and the strategies and the metrics for him to accomplish what we have laid at his feet and say, Mr. Superintendent, get this done. So he owns this more than the board in that way. So we certainly have our input, but I don't know that it would be that even if we have new board members, it's a matter of us coming out, well, we're going to change the strategic plan because he owns the strategic plan more than the board does.
He gets his direction from us, though. You said it a couple times.
Right.
So I would say that in the event that there's something inside the strategic plan that they might want to talk about, I think we give them the opportunity. I think one of the things that we always talked about, and I think Ms. Jenkins even mentioned it when she came on, was that felt like there was this difficult hurdle to get over the top, and I was just thinking that that might be nice for them. That's all. But if you don't have if there's no objection to it, I'd like to add this and the budget to that retreat. Would be nice. That's all.
So I'm just going to jump in as someone who is one of the newest board members here. When I went through my orientation process, the staff did a tremendous job during that orientation process to present the strategic plan to me, as well as any questions I may have about the budget. And when they are sworn as board members, they have the right to talk about anything they want to at any point. I mean, I don't really know if we really need to sit down and have a formal meeting to go over the strategic plan with those board members. When I talked about having an issue being welcomed and oriented, it wasn't because the top level information wasn't presented to me or presented correctly. It was a little bit deeper than that. So those are the things that I think that new board members need help with. It's not getting the information and representing the information that's at the top. It's the little nuances that go on I think that's where we need to work on doing a little bit better job of orienting them.
So I would appreciate that, but one of the things is that the board collectively puts together the direction of the strategic plan. If there is a new board members, the worst thing that we could do is individually go meet with the superintendent and then say 5 different people or 2 more people going against it. It's better to be inside the room, having everybody have that conversation. So if, say, board member number 1 walks into Dr. Mullins and says, well, you know what, I hate this thing right here and I don't like it. This is us and our direction towards the staff. Where does that go? Do you have to then have a meeting to discuss it? It needs to be together in a group. So that's my feeling, and if Ms. Campbell, if you support putting it on there, then we can do that. It doesn't sound like Ms. Jenkins has any want to do it.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but I also am thinking, okay, this is a document that's already been in place now for several years, and if in one foul swoop in a board meeting, we're actually going to make, staff, or this is what everybody in our organization is geared towards, these benchmarks, these goals. And I think it would take more than one meeting. Direction, yes, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it, but we've got time before December to develop that agenda. Certainly willing for, my suggestion was that we have in December, we usually have multiple topics on that retreat. Hey, can we have a segment be about the strategic plan? Absolutely. That, I suggested it, and I would be in favor of.
So you are in favor of making the strategic plan and the budget as part of the conversation for the first retreat that we have in December?
The budget would probably be a little early for new people to be tackling, but they certainly are tackling on their own. I know Dr. Mullins has said he's met with one new board member-elect already, and I know Ms. Jenkins said years ago, I did too, I only had a couple weeks to get myself ready, but Ms. Jenkins had a few months and was able to tackle that. So, but yeah, as a part of it, like an introduction to me, this is my idea, an introduction to the strategic plan. I think that would be a good.
And if they have anything that they would like to amend or move, and to see if there's a majority of that, how would that go about? Or are you proposing that they're not able to do that and that they should just
They can do
wait?
that at any meeting.
I was asking Ms. Campbell, I was asking, that- so you're
Okay,
saying
with all due
that it's
respect, we're speaking
appropriate,
as a board.
so it's appropriate for me as a school board member to turn around at a school board meeting and turn around and say, I want to change the strategic plan in this meeting
You can bring that
prior
up
to any
any
discussions
discussion.
with the board as general, bring it out. You think that that's a better proposal rather than us discussing it in a relaxed setting and talking about the reason that some of this stuff is here? I look at both of them a little bit differently, that's all. And I think that would be, instead of bringing it up at the school board meeting, I think it's better in that environment.
If someone has a concern that they want to address or an opinion of something that they want to bring up and they don't want to bring it up at a board meeting, then they can call for a special meeting. You don't preemptively want to discuss the strategic plan if we don't know that there's an issue with it. It doesn't make any sense. As a board member, they can talk about anything they want at any time.
The most important things we do as a board is we adopt a budget and we set the strategic direction of the district. Those two things are the paramount of what our school board members do. I would say it behooves us in the first meeting that we get together in a relaxed setting to talk about direction. But if I don't have a majority of the board, then that's what it is. So I'm making a motion to put it in there. Do I have a second over there or support from you, Ms. Campbell?
You can't make a motion in a workshop,
I understand.
Mr.
Do I have
Susan.
support, Ms. Campbell, to do this?
So if I may interject, whoever the board chair is in November typically works with the board on establishing the agenda for the December meeting. And Mr. Susan, what you are attempting to get support on is lacking 2 other board members that will be a part of that conversation in November, determining what the
It's true.
agenda will be for the retreat in December. So
Yeah.
I would suggest that while I appreciate where you're coming from, that needs to be a conversation that is had in November when you have a new chair and the chair is working with the peers to establish the agenda for the retreat.
And I totally understand. It's a great point, Ms. Belford, to put up. Paul, do we have to notice an agenda for the December retreat prior to the November 22nd meeting? Or can we just notice a retreat and then we can fill in the agenda when we get there?
You got to have the agenda be roughly 7 days before the retreat. So as long as you have 7 days, you're okay.
That's beautiful. Perfect. Then. That solves it. Great thing. Good job, Ms. Belford. Thank you.
Anyone else for Mr. Wilson? Mr. Wilson, congratulations on your first presentation before the board. We are very happy to have you on the team and doing the critically important work of leading the work of the strategic plan. And I will just say, you know, for those of you that have not done a lot of work around strategic plan in other organizations, I am so incredibly proud of our team and the work that has been done on this strategic plan because as Ms. Campbell mentioned, you know, there's been a lot that could have taken our focus away from the priorities that were established. And as a team, we have maintained our focus on the strategic plan. And part of that is because of the critical steps that have been put in place to keep this a living, breathing document that is in front of us all the time. In many organizations, they adopt a strategic plan, the 5-year plan, they adopt it, they put it on a shelf, they never look at it again, they completely forget what those priorities are. And that's quite common in the corporate world. So just super proud, and I know, Dr. Mullins, this started with you back when you were COO, and establishing the framework, and certainly has evolved and put in additional, I will say, checkpoints along the way to ensure that we're keeping it front and center and keeping not only us at the leadership level, but really our entire team focused on what really matters most to the district. So I thank all of you for your work on that.
Thank you. And one last comment. I don't see the strategic plan at BPS being put on the shelf and being forgot about because of this young lady right here. She will absolutely not allow anyone in this facility to forget about the importance and the work of the strategic plan. So I want to give her some kudos and say thank you, Cynthia Rand, for helping me to prepare for this presentation.
And thank you for all of your work throughout the years on the strategic plan. It is truly critically important. So we appreciate you. All
Ms.
right.
Belford, before we close up for this meeting, can I please say something? Sure. I'm going to make it really clear. I'm an equal member of this board, and I'm not going to be quiet when somebody talks over me continuously as well. That was a discussion we were having as a board, and I have every right to have a differing opinion. Thank you.
Absolutely. Nobody's trying to talk over you.
Okay, sure.
All right. Anything else for this meeting? All right. There being no further business, this meeting is adjourned.